Wellness Crew, and welcome to today's live stream, which is a lot about the change that is going on right now. Specifically, really more about not so much the changes and the transformations that are happening in your life, but really when it comes to this time of the year, this time of the season. A lot of people are experiencing different kinds of emotions around this time of year, especially as we're getting into October, getting closer towards the middle of October. And people are experiencing mood shifts and aren't really sure really quite what's going on. Or for other people, they are used to this. This is a type of cycle for them. This is about where it begins when they start to experience a different cycle of emotions or a different, maybe even if it's not so much a cycle, they just kind of start to feel a little bit differently about. I do. Yes. Thank you so much, Angelina, for asking that. So, it's just one of those things where you may definitely be experiencing feeling a little bit differently, having your motivation be a little bit different. Thank you so much for the like. I appreciate that. You may be experiencing having maybe more energy than usual, or maybe having less energy than usual. And this is something that definitely affects a lot of people. My favorite yoga pose, that's such a good question. I'm going to say, oh man, that's a really good question. Yeah. I'm gonna say probably I'm gonna say crow as well. I just like crow. I like getting into that position and I like trying to challenge myself, especially with my balance. So yeah, definitely crow probably. And plow. I like plow a lot as well. That's awesome. That's fantastic. Yeah, I loved pole dancing when I did it. It was a lot of fun. Hi, Paul. So when you're going through these changes, right? At first, and you may not even be sure what I'm talking about. Maybe this is not something that you've experienced, but maybe you see someone else experiencing this. Oh, that's great, Angelina. Absolutely. Um, Maybe you're starting to see that, someone around you is maybe struggling a little bit, or maybe you're starting to see that someone around you is having a little bit more of a difficult time, especially around this season. That's not silly at all. That's actually something really good to do. It's really good to not only be able to build your glutes. I don't know what that is. So I wouldn't be able to answer if I like it or not. Hi, Brian. So, yeah, it's just one of those things where when we're going through these changes, when we're starting to see it in other people, sometimes we're not really sure how to act, and especially how to even handle certain changes and things like that, simply because we don't know. What am I yapping about? Okay. We don't really know what to do, especially when we're going through these things ourselves, when we're experiencing these things ourselves, and we're like, why do we feel less motivated, or why do we feel a little bit more tired, or why do we feel a little bit more uncomfortable, or why do we feel like this is so much more difficult to do when this wasn't that difficult just a few months ago during the summer? Well, the days are getting a little bit shorter, right? Starting to get into those winter months, and the days are getting a little bit shorter. You're getting a little bit less sun. So, something that has worked for my clients, something that has worked for me, but that I oftentimes forget about a lot, is getting a one of those little lamps that mimics Namaste, hun, that mimics light exposure, and just having that. Okay. And just having that exposure kind of be more around you and kind of making that effort. Now, it's often easy to forget about. It's something that I'm not saying is going to work for everybody, but it might be something that you can incorporate into your schedule just to kind of help, just a little bit, right? And also just knowing, being prepared for change, right? Being aware that, okay, this is something that people experience on a pretty big level. Um, there's something called seasonal affective disorder, right? This is something that affects a lot of people, whether it goes diagnosed or undiagnosed. This is just what happens, right? Days get shorter, and a lot of people. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate that. I'm not sure about that reference, but okay. And so when we're just not when we're just not used to that, right? It just takes a little bit of getting used to and having a plan and knowing what to do and knowing that we have to change our habits, we have to change our behaviors. Sometimes this might mean that we need to do things that bring us joy a little bit sooner in the day. We need to find stuff that's going to motivate us a little bit more sooner in the day. This may mean that we just have to switch around our schedule, maybe tinker with our work schedule a little bit, maybe share household responsibilities with someone in a different way. Just thinking of little ideas like that, little ways that we can contribute to keeping ourselves a little bit more elevated, keeping ourselves a little bit more prepared for what could be coming on, especially since this is still early in the season. We're not really in winter yet, you know, we're still in fall time. But being prepared for it, starting to talk about it now, starting to get a grip of it now. Talking about this with your family and your friends, if this is something that maybe you're not experiencing, but maybe you've seen this in somebody else. Is my way. Oh, okay. So, just again, being ready, being prepared. And the biggest thing is talking about it. The biggest thing is acknowledging it. The biggest thing is being aware of it, right? And not just on some kind of like really like light surfacey level. If this is something that you're concerned about, if this is something, hey Chris, if this is something that you're worried about, if this is something that you're concerned about, if this is something that you see a pattern of this happening, not only to you, but to the people around you, if this is something that you're picking up on, then this is definitely something that you want to really plan for and really have a plan for. Even if it's kind of loose, right? At least you have ideas, you have stuff that you can follow, you have things that you can do in order to prepare for this time, in order to prepare for the next, few months, whenever things are going to maybe be a little bit more difficult, or maybe you're not sure exactly how you're going to be responding to things because you may be a little bit more up, you may be a little bit more down. It just depends on how your body responds to um, a lack of sunlight, or to maybe more brooding weather, you know and a lot of it is that what we need to do is not only address these behaviors that we've had that maybe were in fact even working for us, but we also need to address behaviors that are going to work better for us, and we can change those out, right? We can also develop new habits. Now, roughly takes about 21 days, right, to develop a new habit. I think it takes a little bit longer than that, in all honesty. I think that you need to be able to be practicing something a little bit longer than that. I think you need to really make something more of a ritual rather than just a habit. But, you really want to make something be a part of your life. So once you have certain habits and things that are working for you, again, there's always change, things are always changing. So it doesn't mean that that particular thing is going to work for you every single time, right? It doesn't mean that it's going to work for you every single day. It just means that you want to be prepared, right? Prepared for the change that's going to potentially be upcoming. Be prepared for the things that can happen. Think about the last previous years. Think about what's happened in the past. Think about your cycle. Think about what has happened. Have you been affected? when it comes to around this season. Hi. Um, one second. So it's just getting yourself into a more positive position, getting yourself into a hi, getting yourself into a better position, a more planned out position, a more positive place. And also having a list of coping skills, having a list of things that you can do, and having also a list of things that you can do when things aren't going your way, right? So we have our regular coping skills, right? But you also want to have the coping skills that you know you can rely on, even when you're in a high stress situation. That's very sweet, Brian. But it's okay. I can handle it from my end so far. It hasn't been that bad today. Sorry, I cannot. Christopher, yeah, that's such a good point. And that's another thing too, is that when we aren't using our bodies, or when we aren't thinking about just using um all the tools that we have available to us, right? So it's not just about positive thinking, it's not just about making positive shifts, but it's also about changing what we're doing physically with our bodies, because we carry so much energy within our bodies. We want to make an energetic shift. We want to make a mindset shift, right? We want to try to move things in a better position. How do you deal with intrusive thoughts? Okay, so a little bit off topic, but I love this question. This is a great question. So for years, Ethan, I was dealing with intrusive thoughts to the point where I really thought something was wrong with me. So I was like, what exactly is going on? Because this was something I had never really experienced. I'd never really dealt with it like in full force. And I was like, these just seem so inorganic. These don't seem like thoughts that I would have myself. These just seem like really weird, things that just keep cycling and playing out. And what I found was that once I had developed, better habits, and I was eating a little bit better, and I was really watching like what I was eating, when I was really taking a log of what I was eating and how I was moving around and the types of things that I was consuming, as far as like content goes, and as far as music goes, as far as all of those kinds of things goes, right? TV, music, all forms of media, games, right? Anything like that. When I was really conscious of what I was allowing in, I realized that I was able to control what my subconscious was retaining. And so I feel as though that intrusive thoughts a lot of times can come from our subconscious. And so when we're now not allowing things to come into our subconscious that aren't as negative or aren't as um, detrimental to you, it can kind of slow that down. Now, for some people, when they have a lot of intrusive thoughts and when it's something that's really plaguing them, they may need more help than that. They may need to do things that are a little bit more drastic than that, just depending on how intrusive their thoughts are. But for me, what worked was doing that, and also using anxiety medications, so, or one at least. So, and it was briefly, and then I got off, and then it was fine. It was a lot better. But the biggest component of that was really making sure that I was staying on top of what I was eating and what I was consuming in all the ways. Like thinking of consumption in everything, not just what you're eating and drinking, but consumption of everything, what you're allowing yourself to take in, what you're surrounding yourself with, including people, right? Being aware of the beauty, or the, you know, whatever it is that you want to call it, that you're surrounding yourself with, right? Your environment, plain and simple. Absolutely, Ethan. Yeah. That's just what I found to be helpful for me. And it's different for everybody. And um, a lot of people can find different ways to cope and can find different ways to kind of, deal with things. But that just to me was something that I found was um, the best thing for me because I was able to have like a log basically and kind of see, oh, okay, this is interesting. Like on days that I'm eating this or on days where I'm not physically moving my body and working out and stuff, um, I'm not. I'm glad that you like your shirts. That's awesome. I like Nirvana too. um, so being able to um just kind of see and have that log, that was super helpful. And then also being able to kind of compare it and go back and be like, okay, so when I was doing this, this is what was contributing to that. And I also definitely think too, it's also very much dependent upon your support system. And I suggest to anyone and everyone, right? It really matters who you have in your corner. It really matters who you have as your cheerleaders, as your friends, as the people that you rely on, that you count on, that you feel as though have been a part of your family or that you have woven into your family. It's a really big component. Absolutely. So yes, I do eat steak and eggs. I think yeah, journaling can definitely help. That's kind of like what I'm talking about when I'm talking about like logging stuff. It's very similar to the journaling. I just like to say logging because for some people, journaling is a bit of a triggering word, and they're like, "Oh, a journal, here we go." So I like it. I like for it to sound a little bit more data driven. So when we're talking about logging and things like that, yeah, it just sounds a little bit more data driven. But yes, journaling, right? Same type of thing. But maybe having it be a little bit more structured. Maybe having it be so that way you're able to kind of see like, okay, on this day, this is what happened. On this day, and make sure that we're writing down times and things like that. Just because, again, so that way you'll know, okay, well, I ate this at this time and now I feel this type of way, or just so you kind of know, based on like how food breaks down, or I was listening to this podcast and then I felt this way afterwards, or, just any little thing. It just depends, again, on how severe you're being affected by these intrusive thoughts or how severely you're being affected by whatever you're experiencing in the moment and how much you want to do and how much you want to work towards getting out of it. Right. I don't know how to take that. But yeah, so as long as we can be prepared and I like my steak medium rare. So as long as we're prepared for change, right? So we have hi. So we have things that we're I actually do think that there's a spiritual component to mental health, definitely. Um what you believe in is definitely going to affect you. So whatever you believe is going to definitely make an impact at all times. So, regardless of what you believe in, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Um, it's all going to definitely have an effect. Everything that you put into your body, everything you put into your mind, everything that you feed your soul with, it's all going to have an effect on you at some point in your life because it's all going into your subconscious. Your subconscious doesn't forget anything. You might consciously forget about things all the time. I know I do. But your subconscious does not. um I like to eat at a lot of places, but mainly I like to cook at home. Yeah, I try not to yell. That's why my microphone is down here because I have kind of a loud voice. Hi. Um, but yeah, so once we're in that stage and once we have enough time, right? So we're in still early-ish October. So we're not in that place yet where we do have the super short days. No, I'm not the biggest fan of Outback. I felt like I have family that lives in Australia, and Australia is not anything like Outback. So I just feel like Outback was kind of like a parody of Australia and just made a lot of fun of a country for no reason. So thank you so much, Adam. I appreciate that. Oh, this yeah, it's just part of a set. It's just a piece of jewelry that I like. Hi. So, but yeah, being prepared for it, planning for it, knowing that we have a lot of different things that we want to have ready for this time, for this upcoming time, or knowing that, okay, this is about the time when things start to get a little different for me. Or maybe, asking the people that are close to you or asking the people that, that you love and that have been here for you, like, hey, do you notice that things have been around this time of year, like that I start to kind of, that's okay, Ethan, starting to kind of, I don't remember if you had them or not. A lot of this stuff just goes in one ear out the other, so I don't take anything too seriously. I'm a very forgiving person, and so yeah. Yes, Chris, I'm always so glad when I'm 36 years old. I'm really glad that you said that. So our biochemistry is a very big component. Okay. All of our biochemistry is going to be different. So the times that we need to eat, thank you so much for saying that. I'm having a great day. The times that we need to eat, the times that we need to sleep, the times that we need to do certain things for ourselves, the times that we need to take care of ourselves, the times when we need to, fuel up or recharge or take a step back, take a step forward, right? It's different for all of us. But we need to definitely pay attention to our signs and our signals. And if we're in a place where we're not able to 100% and have a clear mind about that, then talk to the people that you trust. I'm actually going to answer this question. I am of mixed race. Yeah, off topic, but yes. So you just have to keep in mind that there's going to be advice that people are going to want to give, right? And they're going to want to try to answer your question, and it's going to be very generalized. So that's why I love with the live chats, because people will bring stuff up and I'm like, thank you for saying that, because it's true, right? You can't always just give like a generalized thing, because everybody is very different. And it's really good when you work with somebody one on one that really knows you, or that really, has worked with a lot of people and that has been through things like this, that has seen this kind of weather, that has experienced stuff like this, with clients, with themselves, with whatever it may be, simply because then they know kind of how to get you through it. It's really hard. It's really hard to have you. Thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate that. And not only being students of ourselves, but really trusting ourselves and really trusting that we have it within ourselves to, if not completely heal, get to a better place, right? Get to a place where we can be the most prepared, get to a place where we can be the most ready to tackle whatever is going to be upcoming, We know that for some people, this time of year, this is the precursor. I'm not married, but I do have a partner. Yeah. What is my view on? Yes, I do have children. What's my view on self sabotage? I mean, the only view on it is that self sabotage happens all the time. We're constantly doing it to ourselves and we don't even realize it. This happens a lot with like projection and things like that. I see it all the time. We're constantly doing this to ourselves and we don't mean to, but we're doing it when we're projecting our own insecurities. A lot of it comes from insecurity. A lot of it comes from maybe um, just not knowing how to navigate and not knowing how to communicate and not knowing how to feel comfortable in our own skin, not being 100% authentically ourselves, not feeling as though we can really take ownership and be ourselves, right? We end up um, being a version of ourselves. So when we're being this version of ourselves, um, we do have people in our lives that we want to be real with, but it's like we can't take that step, or we do take that step, but maybe the way that it comes out is wrong, or maybe the way that we're just communicating with a certain person is wrong, or whatever it may be. But there's so many reasons why people self like they do it all the time, but there's a lot of reasons why they do this. Once you become confident with yourself, once you love yourself 100%, you will start to see this dramatically decrease, dramatically. And you'll start to be aware of when you're going to sabotage yourself. You'll start to see it before you do it. A lot of times it's with like little comments. And it'll oftentimes be things like where you're like degrading yourself, maybe, or you'll be self deprecating. And not that it's like bad to joke around like that or anything like that. I just think that what happens is when you do that a lot, it devalues you. And it can make other people also devalue you as well. Now, if that's part of your little like gimmick, if that's just who you are, by all means, that's great. But again, our subconscious is taking in everything, everything. So we just want to kind of be aware of that and remind ourselves of that. And I think that this also comes a lot with imposter syndrome. So you can be doing something, right? You can be working in a certain field, in a certain profession for 10, 15 years and still kind of feel like a phony or a fraud. This happens to a lot of people. You just sometimes feel like, oh, I'm not ready for this, even though you've been doing this for like a super long time. That's called imposter syndrome. And sometimes we'll get just in there and then people just, you know, tend to sabotage themselves for whatever reason. So a lot of it is just psychological. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. A lot of it is just stuff that we do, right? As human beings, we're not perfect. None of us are. And I don't think that that's the goal. I don't think the goal is to aim for perfection. I think the goal is to aim for progress, just to try to be better than we were the day before. Whatever that means for you, right? We all have different goals. We all have different aspirations. We all have different things that we're aiming to do. So, right. Being able to be your genuine self, but the best version of yourself, whatever that is for you, whatever that looks like for you, whatever you feel that is for you. And you'll normally really know this once you start to do more like work on yourself, and once you start to kind of explore, like, okay, what would I look like if I was my best self? Or what would I look like if I was doing things, you know? What would that look like? And it's just something that you ask yourself, like, what would that look like? and you still should be able to see yourself. It shouldn't be a really huge difference. The things that you're doing might be different. Um, Situationally, things may be different. But you as a person, maybe your habits may be different, but you as a person um, should still be the same person, right? Now, if you think that you are, um, yeah, kind of like a visualization, very similar to that. Just kind of like just imagining it. I like to think of it more as contemplation, right? So, what we're doing is we're spending time imagining this and visualizing it because what we want to do is just see where our mind is going to take us. So, not focusing on a very specific image, but more contemplating like what could this look like or how could this be, and not putting like a very specific thing on it, but allowing it to kind of become its own thing and allowing yourself then to naturally become that person if you so choose to, right? Oftentimes organically just becoming a better person and hi and organically, thank you so much, I appreciate that, Jim. And just kind of allowing yourself to maybe just take a small step each day, or even being prepared when you know stuff is about to get tough. Hi. When you know stuff is about to get tough, when you know stuff is about to get real, when you know stuff is about to happen and you have to be prepared for it. If you know you're going to walk into a situation, let's say, right, and you know it's going to be difficult, hi, and you know that it's going to be something that you're not sure how to face. Okay, well, remember, you know that you have coping mechanisms and you know that you have ones that you are really good with and that you can always have in your back pocket. You can always just use right then and there. They're right there. That's it. You always got them. So you always have something to use. You always have something right there. You're never left without a tool. You always have you always have a tool. Speaking of, so yeah. There's just a lot of different ways to okay. Sorry y'all. Give me 1 second. Hi. So, but yeah. Okay. Give me 1 second, y'all. I apologize. Thank you, Molly. It's very sweet. So, yeah, it's just being ready, trying to be prepared, trying to have, as much available to you as you possibly can. Hi. So, yeah. So I work as a wellness coach. And when I do my live streams, that's also what I'm here. Thank you so much. That's also what I do here is I'll answer questions and things like that for people that can't afford to be a client of mine. So that's kind of why I do these live streams. um, so that way, if anybody has a question or things like that, then I'm able to respond to them. It's actually in the description and it's also in the title. I don't have to experience too much cold weather. I live in Texas, so it doesn't get very cold here. It snowed a few years back and it was catastrophic. Not really, but yeah. So just kind of knowing that we have our all of our tools ready. Oh, Louisiana, that's awesome. No, I'm not, Jared. Thank you so much, Charlie. I appreciate that. That's very kind. um, but yeah, so we have our tools, we have our planning, we have the people around us, hopefully. And if we don't have the people around us, then hopefully we can find and develop that family. We can find and develop that group of people that we can rely on, that we can that we can have, that we consider family. There, hey, to each their own. If that's how you want to be, you can totally be like that. That's no worries. Yeah, Adam, if you're interested in coaching with me, you just have to email cultofwellnessco@gmail.com, and then I'll check my email and I can get back to you as soon as I can. Yeah. Hi, Steve. Thank you so much. Love your personality. How's Texas? I I like Texas a lot. I've lived here my whole life, well, for the very vast majority of it. I like Dallas. I like San Antonio. Austin is great for pretty much everything. So there's a lot of places that I like, and I don't like being stuck out somewhere where you have to drive for hours and hours to get anywhere. So, uh, but there's some pretty cool places out there for sure. So I'm doing good, thank you. Oh, okay, awesome. I personally don't really go fishing, but that's only because I don't have a fishing pole and all that stuff. But my partner likes to fish. Yeah, traveling is definitely something great to do whenever you can, and to kind of see things from a different perspective, and just to get out and about and do something different, you know? So, yeah, fishing is definitely something that's very relaxing for some people. Fishing can definitely be one of those things. So yeah, and even something like that, like we can use that as an example. So if you know that you're going to have a day coming up, right? And you're going to be able to do something that is going to allow you to be outside, you could go fishing, right? As a coping mechanism, you could totally do that. Being held captive. Okay. Thank you. You could find something that it honestly just depends on the day of the week. Yeah. I can't control the way I look, so yeah. Yeah, Florida is very nice. I liked Florida. I was in Destin over the summer, and it was nice. I enjoyed it. So, but yeah. Disney World is a lot of fun. Yeah. Hi. No, it's okay. I mean, I'm here for live chatting as well, so it's not a big deal. We got about 5 minutes. I was actually going over getting ready for change and planning for change earlier. So now I'm just kind of live chatting with people. Can I snore? I'm sure I could if I wanted to. Thank you very much, B. I appreciate that. I'm glad to hear that, Chris. Thank you. No, I'm not single. Okay. So yeah, just always knowing that regardless of if it's going to change, whether it's mood wise or whether it's situationally wise, and that there's some things that we honestly just can't plan for, can't really be prepared for, right? Having those coping mechanisms, having those things in your toolbox, having those things that you're going to be able to just kind of draw from your back pocket and know that you know how to use well and very well. Having those always there, trying to remember them and trying not to forget them. Um, Having those always there is going to be the best course of action because we are not in control of our lives all the time. We're not in control of all the situations that we have in our lives. We are not in control of every little thing. We may think that we are, but the truth is that we're not. The only thing that we're in control of is ourselves and our behaviors and our reactions. And we can choose to be either responsive or reactive. I think it's always best to choose to be responsive when appropriate. Never really ideal to be reactive. And, it's just one of those things where you're not going to find peace or happiness or anything like that in trying to control other people. You're not going to find peace or happiness in trying to control and micromanage all of these other problems and situations and things like that. It's only going to drive you crazy. So limiting that and getting rid of that type of thinking will definitely help with just mental clarity in general. Will help with worry and stress. A lot of people worry too much and think about a lot of things over and over again, and are always in that state of like, oh my gosh, why is stuff? No, I'm from Texas. um, you know, having that constant state is not good for your body because you're always going to be up in cortisol. Your cortisol levels are going to be very high. And that's not the greatest thing for your body. So, ideally, right, you just want to try to understand like I can only control myself. I can only control the way that I'm behaving, the things that I do, my actions, my words, and understand that like it's perfectly okay that things are going to change sometimes. It's going to feel kind of rapid sometimes. Sometimes it's going to be slow. Sometimes we don't get to control the speed, right? It's out of our control, is what I'm trying to tell you. But you can plan for it as best as you can. You can have these things already ready for you, and you can then know exactly how you want to try to manage the problem, the situation, whatever is coming up. Specifically, though, with the seasons, as you know, just having all your tools ready, being ready for what's coming up this winter, and knowing that we're still in early October, so we have time to start looking into things, what's going to work for us, what isn't going to work for us. Definitely starting to look into maybe more indoor activities for getting our exercise in, things like that. So just making little changes to our schedule, little changes to our habits and things like that. Yeah, humidity is usually unbearable in Texas. All right, y'all. So thank you so much for joining me today. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and or join one of the membership tiers as it is popping off with content. And I'll see you in the next video or live stream. Be well, stay wild.